Hello, and you're very welcome to the Sporting Club Ireland podcast, episode 2, as we run the rule over the FIFA World Cup and indeed the opening weekend of the FIFA World Cup. Plenty of talking points after 12 games down, not least some of the controversy over ticket prices, tickets left unsold, and the pricing model that FIFA have used to try and squeeze as much money as they possibly can out of the beautiful game. Tonight, we're joined by Mark Brandon, director of the Sporting Club Ireland. Mark, how are you?
Very well. I just want to apologise to Brian Kerr there for the technical difficulties.
Listen, we have Brian. Alan, I want more hydration breaks. Cawley is with us. How are you, Al?
Good morning, Hugh. How are you? Morning, Mark.
How you doing?
You're
With
like the water
Brian?
boy there. You're like the water boy. And I believe, Brian, I want to be Gianni Infantino's very best friend, Kerr, is with us. Brian, how are you? Great to see you.
Yeah, I just went missing there for a while. But I hope I'm back. Am I back?
You're back. You're back, and you're more beautiful than I remember you, Brian. To be quite honest with you, you're looking great.
That's saying something. That's saying something.
Look, the band is back.
Oh God, I'm recovering from a couple of late nights trying to watch late night matches. I have to say I dozed off a bit. Last night I was in the throes of Ivory Coast, and I couldn't stick it. I got half it. Ecuador and Ivory Coast, which actually was quite good, but
Yeah.
I was done by half time. I gave up at half time. You were on the previous night, the late night one with Scotland.
Yeah, myself and Cawley there. You told me you fell asleep halfway through that one. It wasn't great for my confidence, to be honest with you, Brian. But you're looking.
Yeah, I know. Just put it down to the lateness of the night. I mean, it was a lot of games, a long day. Fair play to you. You were brilliant. You got back after that.
Yeah. I was enjoyable, Al. What do you reckon?
I saw Alan yesterday morning, and he didn't look like he'd been so far away at 3 a.m. when I last heard his voice.
There's not many people, Brian, can be in two places at once, but I'm mastering it at the moment.
Yeah, they say they've gotten rid of the Concorde, but they actually kept it for myself and Alan to get over and back to the States here. So we're private use of the Concorde at the moment. Look, we're fresh off the back of we had a fantastic day with Harry Redknapp on Friday. And Mark, the good news is for anyone listening to the podcast, Harry has agreed to do a special episode for us this coming Thursday, which we're very excited about.
Yeah, very excited. So, as I said, I'll try and iron out the technical difficulties before then, but looking forward to hearing from Harry.
Yeah, no, it'll be great. Look, Brian, just first of all, your thoughts on the World Cup after the opening weekend. We've had 12 games played. We've had plenty of goals, plenty of talking points as well. These hydration breaks are a bit of a stickler for Alan here, which I'll get to in a second. But overall, your sense of the World Cup after the first weekend, how do you feel about it?
Well, look, leading into it, I'd say it's been the least enthusiastic I've been ever about a World Cup in my life, because of all the various stuff that's been going on. The fact it's in 3 countries, it's been so spread out. What's going on in Trump's America is just extraordinary. The treatment of some of the teams and the fans, the likes of Haiti, Iran, Iraq, and a few more who've been, prevented from bringing their full staff, messing about visas. Iran been told they can only travel into America on the day of the game. The Haitian referee who was denied entry to referee the games. All that sort of stuff has really annoyed me. In advance of the competition, people have been a bit easy-ozy about the 48 team thing. I think that's dreadful stuff, and I understand that it's a political move by Infantino, and it's led to a situation where you've had New Zealand qualifying by beating in the semi-final and the final. They beat Fiji, I think it was 7-0, and they beat New Caledonia, one of the world's great powers, 3-0. To qualify for the World Cup. They played 5 games. I mean, if they sound not great, not particularly powerful teams, the other 3 that were in their group weren't exactly, stalwarts of world football either. I think it was America Samoa was one of them. Vanuatu was another one. Right. You probably have the third one, Alan. You get the picture. So what he's done is feathered his own power, feathered his nest, by dishing out these easy opportunities. You look even at the qualification from South America, the top 6 out of a 10-team league qualify, and the 7th team gets a playoff. European spots are still hard. I think we're still only on, what are we on, 14 spots. It's still difficult for the European teams to qualify. But around the world, it's become much easier for the teams to qualify. And that has lessened my enthusiasm. I'm delighted for Curacao and Cape Verde and some of the other smaller nations, even Haiti, they've been there before, some of the other ones. I'm delighted for them they're getting the opportunity. But I do feel you should have to earn it a bit. Iceland earned it of a very small population in their time in a difficult setup, as I said, going through Europe. So that has lessened my enthusiasm. And I'm looking at the matches going, it's fantastic that so many people have had the money to pay into those matches or buy those tickets at the price they are and pay for the journey, pay for the travel out to the games and all that goes around that. But I'm still looking at it going, it's cut off an awful lot of people from actually being able to go to the games. Hasn't stopped them watching them on television. I'd be interested to see what the numbers are. I'm kind of looking forward to the last game in the groups already, because that's where there's a bit of jeopardy. And I understand how that works because I was involved in it with the under-20s a couple of times. So you come to the last game needing a point or needing a win and looking at how the other groups are. And this time we'll have 8 groups who the third place team out of 12 will be getting through. And they'll all be looking at the other teams saying, oh, if that result goes our way, we might get away with a draw. So there will be jeopardy when that comes. But I'm really looking forward to the 42 teams and the knockout part of the competition and real quality in the game. So that's not to rule out the great joy there was in some of the games. Curacao scored last night against Germany, getting back to 1-1 and shaking Germany for a few minutes. Even Qatar scoring in the last minute the other night when it looked like the game was over. It looked like it was done and dusted, but it wasn't, and they score. There's moments of joy in those things, but in the overall context of it, I'm waiting. I'm still watching the madness of my obsession with football. I'm still watching a good few more games than I thought I would.
Yeah.
But we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, the discrepancy, Alan, in qualifying is an interesting point as well. It's a bit like my auntie when she was going for a driving test. She took 9 tests in Dublin, right? She shouldn't have been allowed near a car. She crashed a parked car. She was so bad. And then she went down to Portlaoise on the 10th, and so she sailed through. God knows what blind driving instructor gave her the passport, but she shouldn't be allowed near a car. It's very difficult to try and rationalise, some of the teams and the standards that they represent at this World Cup versus others that have missed out. That's the nature of maybe where they are in the world. I understand that. But still, it's a little bit tough to take from an Irish point of view sometimes.
Yeah, and of course, looking at it with glasses from our point of view, Hugh, it is so disappointing that we're not there when you think of the amount of teams, and as Brian outlined, the quality of the teams that are there. And it is still very difficult in Europe for teams to qualify, but we had our chance, and when obviously we weren't good enough. That's ultimately what it comes down to. I think it's twofold with the competition and the amount of teams, and for the likes of smaller country and you're trying to develop the game and all that kind of stuff, I can see that argument. But ultimately, it comes down to Infantino as well, very unfaithful, as we've seen, commercial revenue being generated, the amount of games. You see the hydration we're talking. That's TV. Yeah, there's evenings there, and we did the other night. It's a cool evening, and there's no need for hydration. So all that kind of plays into it. And I also think, as Brian said, and there's no getting away from the fact that it dilutes the quality of the competition, absolutely. But then you could say those countries are having their moment, like we had our moment in Italia 90. And for that kind of split second, if you like, in them having their moment, you can kind of understand it a little bit. But as soon as we get through to the knockout stages and something like what we saw with Morocco, you will get down to the business end and you will get down to the top teams. And that's when I think the competition will take off. In terms of the quality of the tournament and it being a World Cup. But I just think it's a sign of the times that we live in. It's all money generated. Look at the new format of the Champions League, the amount of games as well. Like, we're playing 7 games just to knock out 16 teams here. Like, it's madness, really, when you think about it. And even for the likes of Scotland, who we covered the game the other night, and they're having a moment. But they've never got into a knockout stage, Hugh, in any of the competitions, whether it be a World Cup or European Championship. But because of the format this year, they'll never have a better chance, despite the fact that they're in a group of Morocco and Brazil, purely by the fact that 3 points will probably get you through. So there's pros and cons, but again, like Brian, you want to see the cream drop, and I think we will eventually, but it's just taking an awful long time to get there. It will.
Yeah, it will take a long time. Brian, that's an interesting point. Like Infantino and Trump have been, blabbing on about this will be the highest grossing, the most profitable World Cup ever. But of course it will be, because the most amount of teams that have ever played, 48 teams. It's not a comparable model to say, like, we're going to make more money than 4 years ago or 8 years ago, because if they didn't, you'd ask serious questions by virtue of the fact that they have more games.
Of course. And what he's done is he's basically bribed all the nations, all the countries around the world to keep voting for him. I wouldn't say his votes in Europe would be particularly high, but when it comes to it, it doesn't really matter, because when the others get together, like the CONCACAF and Oceania and the other parts of FIFA get together, he'll have the votes anyway, and he's unanimously re-elected, because they're all been bought off by the largesse that he's able to dish out now that they're generating so much money off the sponsorship. Alan mentioned, and you've already mentioned, the hydration breaks. I mean, it's farcical. And I met Owen McDevitt at the Saturday event yesterday. Alan was up there. And he said a simple one to me. He said, look, they could surely just have one of the blokes, the fourth official, or a fella on the sideline, if the temperature goes over a certain height, if it goes to 25 degrees or 30 degrees, wherever you want to set it at, you can call a water break. But otherwise, it's farce. I heard Klopp had a major go before the match last night, and he's right. I mean, it's annoyed me watching the matches, knowing that it's not too far from it. I'm looking at the clock at 20 minutes and saying, oh, the bloody water break's going to come up soon. And I don't really want to see it. We'll be on 22 or 23 or 24, 25 minutes. And then we know there's going to be at least 3 minutes injury time in the first half. It's just changed the game completely. It's broken up the rhythm of the game, the flow of the game, and allowed the managers. I mean, if they want to have that water break so badly, they're not going to stop the ads situation going on, whether RTE shows ads at June or not.
No, they don't.
Don't start there. But they could make the water break and say, look, it's a water break. It's a 30-second job in the middle of the pitch. Both teams have to stay inside the centre circle. The bloke with the water is allowed run on, give them the water. Coaches aren't allowed come on. It's the 11 players that are on the pitch at the time. Bang, bang, away you go. Match 3 restarts after 30 seconds. That's all you need. 45 seconds if you want to stretch it. But not, the flow of the game has been disrupted in every match I've seen so far. And
Brian, if you're putting your management hat on there for a sec, that changes the landscape for managers as well, because they know they're going to have like 4 different intervals to come in and maybe change things up. So it effectively changes the entire blueprint of a match, does it not?
Exactly, and my fear would be that this is going to come across the game around the world. I mean, Alan was probably in the League of Ireland match on Friday night. I don't know, maybe you were in America or Mexico, and I didn't hear. I was at Friday night. Was down in Kerr, and all these referees in the League of Ireland are moving some of the rules in. Like there was a lad was put off because he was down for an injury, and the referee wouldn't allow him back on, and the fourth official was trying to tell him that he had to stay off the pitch for a minute. And then I saw the referee counting fellas taking throw-ins, and they're suddenly bringing this into the game. Yeah. And there was like he only played. It was interesting. He only played 3 minutes injury time in the first half, and to me, there was at least 3 occasions when there was players down with head injuries that went on for a long time. Then at the end of the match, he played 5 minutes, and I thought, he still didn't get it right. But I'm looking at these sort of things creeping in. Is this now going to creep in across the game around the world? Are we going to have the hydration breaks almost compulsory when they're not needed? I'd hate to see that happen, but we're going to have to put up with it during the World Cup. I'm sure things will improve as it gets to knockout stages. But you're right about the impact of the managers, the opportunity for coaches to have an impact on the tactical side of the game, to get clear instructions to the players to tweak it tactically how they're playing. I thought that you shouldn't really have that opportunity. You shouldn't have a 3-minute break. It's bringing the game. It's changing the game into almost a basketball game now, where you have timeouts and the coach can call a timeout. It's ridiculous.
Yes, Mark, what about timeouts coming into football, huh? The old T on the sideline there. That's exactly what we want.
No, look, enjoying listening to Brian and Alan, and all you guys work in football. And just from a fan's point of view, my thoughts here are like, the World Cup always felt like it belonged to the fans. Now sometimes I think maybe it feels like it belongs to sponsors, broadcasters, and hospitality clients. Like the game's never been richer, but also access, fans have never felt poorer. And I think it's a good point. And the guys have covered some great stuff there as well. And even around, the rules and being brought into the League of Ireland maybe by accident, like the World Cup, obviously the fact that the games as well are on in the middle of the night, unless you guys are obviously flying out there on the day to commentate, it's harder to see them, as the ordinary fan. Like I have kids, so I can't watch the game at 5 a.m. But so it probably hasn't feel like it's taken off yet. I do think what Brian says, once you get to the knockout stages, it will feel like the World Cup. All the quality teams will start playing each other. But I'm not keen on the water breaks at all. I'm into Gaelic football or rugby whenever they've done anything like that. I think it's not how soccer is done. So I certainly wouldn't be for that. And I'm not looking for a Super Bowl model here with soccer.
The thing about this, Alan, is, right, and what I'm worried about, alluding to what Brian has just said, these guys are pushing the boundaries of what we know as the accepted norms in football, right? They're telling us these hydration breaks are coming in for the World Cup. They're telling us the rule tweaks are coming in for this sort of stage. Even if you look at the price and everything, if you keep pushing the accepted norms and people don't push back, they become just the norms and the new norms, and football changes by degrees over time, by which point, before you even know what's happened, you have a new sport in your hand and it's unrecognisable from what the tradition was.
Yeah, and that's the I suppose the fear about it, Hugh, because even if you just kind of pinpoint the water breaks, because of the heat and the climate of obviously where the World Cup is, these were being disguised as player welfare issues. And as Brian says, if they hit temperature of where it's like way out of hand in terms of 29, 30 degrees, and I think there is a bar for that once it reaches that, you have to stop it automatically. But it's been disguised as that, whereas we had a game the other night, I'm not sure which game it was, but the players were actually back on the pitch earlier than the 3 minutes. And the referee held off because he was getting it in his ear that you have to hold off because the ads were still running. So you can't have a situation where that's overtaken the football. That's where we're at, unfortunately. So it's nothing to do with player welfare, which was what it was brought in for initially. So these are all the things, as you said, with the creep game, all money orientated, all because of commercial revenue. And as unfortunately, unless you have the likes of Klopp or Ruud Gullit, I seen was very critical of Infantino, questioning his leadership as well. People of that stature and that profile, I'm not sure if change will come about for the likes of those things. But the whole water break thing, for all the reasons, as you've said, Brian said, the 4 quarters, it's effectively becoming 4 quarters now, which is dreadful. Like the game we covered, Hugh, Scotland and Haiti. Haiti in the second half could never kind of build up any steam or build up any momentum towards chasing the game. It was stop-start nature for 10, 15 minutes. Then the water break came. It suited Scotland down to the ground because of the stop-start nature. End of 3 again. And you're trying to get yourself right again to try and get goals, have a bit of in the last quarter, if you like. That can't be right. It can't be right.
Yeah. No, it can't. I was looking at some of the financials around this, Brian, and not to get too deep in it, but you look at still thousands of tickets unsold because of this dynamic pricing model that they use. So essentially, the more the games are in demand, the higher the ticket prices fluctuate on any given day. Similarly, if they're not in demand, they're supposed to come down. But the reality is that people are paying $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 dollars for a ticket, for one ticket to go and see a match. Then when you go into the stadium, right, you can't buy a beer for less than $20. You have literally a portion of French fries for $11, $12. It's the fans who are getting screwed here. They're absolutely fleeced.
Oh, for sure. And, I'm looking at the crowds in the games, and I think I'd have to say they all look a bit well heeled. Would that be? I can't see their shoes now on the telly, but because none of them look like they put in a hard day's graft on the And I'm looking at the crowd that were following Scotland, and I'm going, The Japers now, you know, a lot
Where's
of
the
lads.
Glaswegians, Brian? Where's the Glaswegians?
Yeah, well, I saw fellas going out of Edinburgh on the telly the other night, and they all looked great, and they were singing songs, and there was a marching band and pipes and all that, and bringing their kids to America, and they're going, what sort of lads have that sort of money to pay thousands of dollars for the flights, the accommodation, and the match tickets as well? Like myself and Alan would do a bit of madness, you know, once a year if we can get our hands on the Champions League ticket. We're prepared to pay whatever it is, and you know, you can go up to €400 or €500, and you go. I do it once a year, but to do this with a family of people and for one match to pay, it's so. But yeah, the grounds seem to be very full. Bar, you know, you're picking out bits in the stadium saying, "Oh, well, there was maybe 1,000 empty seats or 2,000." The stadiums are huge, so I'm surprised at the numbers. But it isn't right. The fans shouldn't be getting screwed as they are. But could I bring up something else, you that I'd like? I have to say, the emergence, we always see something happen of the young players again. And the lad Bouadi the other night from Morocco in the Morocco-Brazil match.
Incredible.
That young lad in the middle of the pitch, 19-year-old fella, plays for Lille. And I know, you know, the deal is all the Premier League teams are after him a lot. But how good was he in the game the other night, dominating the match? The match you did, I thought the lad on the left then Doak. I know he has
Doak, yeah.
He's another bit of a name in the middle, but anyway, he's only one bloke, isn't he? Ben, what's it? Glennon Doak.
Glennon Doak, yeah.
Glennon Doak, right? And he's. I used to say about Johnny Morris Bork, he's only one bloke, not three. Or Brian Morris Rowe, the player
with his three names, yeah. But like, that's good.
He was great, and the lad last night for the Ivory Coast on the right side, Diamande. I only lasted a half time, but I saw enough even the first 20 minutes. He was sensational on the right wing, doing Nkape time after time. He was a very good player, and he's quick, and he was doing them with tricks first of all. Then he was doing them with pace, whipping in crosses. And I saw the stats in after match. He created 6 goals, scored in champ. And these are the things that we all love about the World Cup. We love the stars and we love the Messi and Ronaldo, all that stuff, and Ronaldo in the past and the great players and Pele and Beckenbauer. But the young fellas emerging in the earlier stages, and can they sustain it, and what impact can they have as it goes on? That's what I love to see.
And Al, you were so impressed by Morocco against Brazil the other night. I know you watched it. We were on duty after the match, but they kind of arrived on the scene 4 years ago. They look like, if anything, Alan, they're better than 4 years ago. They could like cause a lot of upsets.
Yeah, they were outstanding in the game, and I suppose that was probably the game of the tournament so far that everybody was looking forward to in terms of the high-profile nature of it, and everybody focusing on Brazil, but Morocco were the story. And again, as Brian said, the midfield lad Bouadi, but even you look at Hakimi, who's a superstar at club level, and the lad that scored, Salibri, who I wouldn't be too mad about, but it was a great finish. But even the other midfield players, El Canouse, a couple of lads, just kind of wouldn't be the most heralded players around the world, but just as a collective unit, they were outstanding, Hugh. And I think they'll take a bit of stopping in the tournament as well. You look at Brazil on the flip side of that, I'm not so sure. I think they have problems in terms of the midfield area. Casemiro, Bruno Guimaraes, not so much energy in there. I prized the lad Ederson, who everybody talking about maybe signing for Man United, who wasn't in the squad initially, is not. But I think he will be in. But I think they'll get themselves through Brazil. But I wouldn't be them why not win the competition. To be honest, Morocco, I think, have a better chance than them. Brian mentioned the lad Diamande, Ivory Coast. He actually had a $1 million price tag on his ready with RB Leipzig, so he's an emerging star. And Ivory Coast, I watched him in friendly against France, right? Tournament well. They really, that's a big win beating Pacho, Hicapia, in a mid well, and some people suggest maybe a dark horse. So that's a big win for Ivory Coast to get your tournament up and running, Hugh. And it is those stories as well as that kind of see on a regular watch football. As Brian dealt with, they're brilliant stories. And that lad Bouadi, he's been the star so far. To put in a performance against Brazil and the players he's playing against on that stage, and to own the match as a young kid, incredible in the most important part of the pitch. A phenomenal performance.
Yeah. Listen, come here. Yeah, your audio's dipping in and out there, Al. So, look, yeah, we're just at the last bit there. So, apologies about that. But we got the gist of what you were saying. Before I let you go, Brian, I've got to ask you about Damien Duff over to Brentford to join up with Keith Andrews. Looks like a really good move for all involved. I know Keith had been keen to get Duffer over for a while. Whatever the offer was, looks like the price was right or the conditions were right. They're getting a good lad, Duff, and obviously, I think Brentford, the way things are going there, Brian, you know, from an Irishman point of view, to have the two lads involved there and the way they seem to go about their business look like a really attractive proposition for the next couple of seasons. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Keith did extraordinarily well this year, given, you know, he came in and there was so they lost some key players, but they replaced them, and Thiago did exceptionally well in the centre forward position, having lost the few centre forwards that went out, and you know, there was a suggestion that they might struggle with Thomas Frank going, but Keith did really, really well. Obviously, the structure in the club is so good, the recruitment is so strong, and they have their ways of doing their business that has become very, very efficient and consistent, as to say. I probably would have liked to see Damien going to another club.
Would
because,
you?
No, yeah, because wouldn't it be nice to have another Irish manager around the place?
Yeah.
But he's probably unlikely to get a Premier League club. He probably, you know, I thought, where would Damien go? He might go to Blackburn, where he emerged as such a great player when he was young for it. Or would he have a chance of getting the Fulham job because he finished out his career at Fulham? But maybe that was too much of a step for them to look at him and say, had he done enough in the game as a manager? They may not value what he did at Shelbourne as highly as we would do. But he's gone into a role with Keith. It'll be comfortable for him in terms that he obviously knows Keith from his time working with Stephen Kenny. That was quite a short time that they had together, but they obviously knew each other going back to when they played. So, you know, it'll be a good arrange. He would have thought about it very deeply. He wouldn't have jumped in too quickly, I would think, Damien, because he did say, you know, he wasn't keen on going back to Britain. But he's changed his mind with that. His kids are a bit more grown up now. Access in and out of London to Heathrow in particular is not far from Brentford. Not sure where the training ground is, but I'm sure it's on that side.
Yeah.
And you know, it'll be easier for him if his family want to stay here for him to do that one, to go in and out. But he's a loss from the Irish game, and I made a little bit of a play for him tonight. He did a bit on one of the League of Ireland matches with us on Virgin, and I said he should be working with the international team, and I stand by that. The FAI have gone through a process of appointing a load of people to the underage international teams the last few weeks, and nobody's name jumped out at me that I said, all right, that's a fabulous appointment. I looked at it and I went, all right, where's the winners among that lot? And I didn't see one. Whereas what I see with Damien Duff is a winner who knows the game, who's intense, who inspires players, who people respect. He's done it all, 100 caps, Premier League medals. You know, he was an exceptional player, but he's proved himself as an exceptional manager in League of Ireland terms, certainly, in how he grew Shelbourne over such a short space of time from being the first division team. When he took it on, they'd just gone up to the Premier Cup final, well beaten, but made the team and moulded the team into a league winning style. So there you go. He's in. We'll watch it with great interest as Brentford develops.
Yeah, and last word to you, it does seem like, you know, Keith pushed the boat out to get him. You can see why Duff's work ethic, his work rate is second to none. They're getting a really, really industrious, hard-working fella who you know is just going to give everything.
Yeah, well, look, Brian's outlined just what Damien Duff brings. We all love the fact that he was here in our league because he was so high profile and brought some stature to the game here, which is needed in our league, and he is going to be a huge loss. And it should be said as well, Hugh, and you know something, right? And Brian he won't like me for saying this, maybe, but all those players started with Brian and those standards that he instilled and stuff. And isn't it lovely to hear Brian speaking so good about Damien still? I met Brian yesterday. I'm at a tournament and he's still batting the head off me and wants to know what I'm doing, helping me out. Still gives me a text message. I heard you last night. Well done. Fair play to you and all. And that's where That's follow on over the course of all the years. And Damien Duff loves Brian as much as Brian loves Damien Duff. Like, and that's hard got, you. That's hard got. And you have Damien Duff now, who I think, if you were to speak to all the young Shelburne players that he has had, would say the exact same thing about him. And for him to be gone out of the game now here, it is a huge loss. I think eventually he will be involved in, not just with the FEI, but in managing the senior team. I think he'll go that far. He's an absolutely unbelievable manager, as we know, but an unbelievable person in terms of what he brings to the job and to the game itself, because he is obsessed with it. I'm just surprised, Brian. You think the fact that he was manager here, he stepped out on his own as a manager away from the coaching roles that he had previous. Are you surprised he's gone back into kind of not playing second fiddle because he is so high profile? But do you think he may have? Do you think his next step would have been another managerial role rather than a coaching role?
Well, a couple of things before I go to that. I thank you for the kind words. But in fairness, you, Mark, you know, when I first came across Damien and some of the other great players you had in the underage team, your granny would have picked them out in the matches, right? And any help that I gave them was minuscule in their development. But
Brian,
they
would
were
your granny have picked
they
me
were
out?
smacked from the start.
Not even Super Grand to pick you out.
Look, you know, it didn't take it. You didn't have to be a genius to pick those lads out and to make something out of them and win a few matches with them. But about Damien, I'm surprised that he's taken a secondary role. Well, he may well have weighed it up and saw how the land lay. Was he going to get the Celtic job ahead of the other people that were in line for it? Now, well, he wasn't going to get it ahead of Martin, given Martin was in there, and obviously it seemed that Martin wanted to stay on. Was he going to get it ahead of Robbie Keane? Possibly.
The Celtic fans would have had Duffer ahead of Robbie, I can tell you that much.
Well, you're right, but maybe the fella who's making the decisions didn't have him ahead of him on the basis that Robbie's won a couple of leagues outside the League of Ireland. Maybe Dermot Desmond didn't rate his achievement, even despite his ownership or half ownership in Shamrock Rovers. So Damien may well have weighed it up and said, realistically, where am I going to get? Am I going to get Blackburn Rovers or lower down? Or do I take a Premier League job with a fellow I know, the very stable club? I'll obviously have a big say in what's going on. And that was obviously very attractive to him. And it gets him back in business. I'm not surprised that he took it. I just would have loved him to have a role. Like, the most important teams in Irish football are our international team. Our senior international team is the money driver of the whole association. And the game is struggling here for money, scrapping around to get a few bob off the government towards the academies to employ one bloke or two blokes in the academy. The game is bereft of money, and it's just such a struggle for everybody in the game. The FAI made so many mistakes in the past, and I just think if Damien had been appointed in a bit of an overseeing role in terms of the underage teams, or maybe a direct involvement in one of the teams, with a bit like maybe the gig that I had at one stage where I was technical director for a while, but I was managing teams at the same time. Now, it was a bit mad. I was running 4 teams and I was technical director. I had I had to do a bit of juggling on the fixtures. You get away with more with those times. But, like someone like Damien, people would have went, hey, yeah, we'll have a bit of that. There'll be a change. Things will get better. Commercially, people will get behind it. Anyway, they've missed the boat on it. They've gone another road, and he's gone to help out an English team, the Premier League.
Can I ask you, Brian, before I let you go? I mean, Robbie Keane, obviously, by all accounts, his time at Maccabi Tel Aviv ruled him out as far as the fans were concerned. Now, I don't know how much Dermot Desmond listened to the fans anymore at Celtic, but that seemed to be a big no-no, and why ultimately Martin O'Neill got the job. This decision by the FAI to move the Israel game to neutral ground in the upcoming Nations League, how do you feel about it? Sinn Féin have described it as a cowardly decision. Simon Harris recently on the record saying it's not a government's decision to get involved in this, it's an FAI decision. How do you feel about the neutral ground overall? Is that the best compromise that could have happened?
we don't have another half an hour to get into this. I realise, but I have to say, I'm not happy at all. I wasn't happy from the start.
Right.
I realise the FAI are in a really sticky wicket here. I said earlier they're struggling for money. I know that, but they got rid of about 50 staff before Christmas in not a very nice way. They've replaced some of them, but they're not in great shape. I understand that, but this goes above and beyond football. In in 20 or 30 years' time, when people look back at what's gone on in Israel and the Lebanon more recently, and how Israel has behaved towards those countries with the backing of Trump's America, people may well be saying then, well, what did you do about it at the time? How come that happened? I mean, I know we go, how did that happen? What happened with the Jews in during
World War II, yeah.
World War II with the Germans and Hitler. And I think in the future people say, well, how did everybody just let that happen? And I think they would look at UEFA and FIFA and say, how did you just let the football go on? That Israel, people, men in Israel, or I think everybody, but men particularly, have to do army service in Israel. Do you remember Benny Young a few years back?
Yeah, Yossi Benayoun. Yeah.
He had to go and do his army service, even though he was their best player. So the players who play for the Israeli national team have to do army service at some stage. So it's not like that the players of you see, even the smart aleck thing they said, the Israeli Association said the other day, after the FAI moved the match, it was kind of more a little taunt that they gave to them, like, tough on yous, we'll still beat yous. It's smart alecky stuff, typical of them. But UEFA should have got them all out of trouble, should have got the FAI out of trouble and said, no, you're not playing FIFA. Like, Russia were suspended when they were doing their stuff in Ukraine, which is dreadful and horrible. And we sympathise with them, and we've taken in the Ukrainian people here, so many. The right thing to do. But the right thing to do is not to play this match. The right thing to do in terms of supporting Palestine and saying to Israel, this is not right. What you're doing to the Palestinian people, what you're doing in Gaza, what you're doing in the West Bank, what you're doing with the football clubs and taking their land and playing matches on their pitches as if they're your own, is not right. It shouldn't be happening. And we should not be playing them. And yes, if we are to suffer a bit of grief and lose money because we didn't play the match at home. So what?
Some things are more important. Some things are more important.
Do 6 points this time out. We get relegated. This is that big of a deal. If the team are good enough, they'll qualify for the next tournament anyway. You get loads of chances now. There's secondary chances all the time for if you're down to even level D in the Nations Cup, you get a go at a qualification place for the final. So it's not that big of a deal. In the overall context of nearly 75,000 people getting killed, and it goes on, and it goes on. There was 8 yesterday. There's thousands since the supposed ceasefire. But it just goes on every day. And we've got to care about that. And, football people are inclined to be in a bubble at times and not care so much because they've so much, they're worried about the points, they're worried about some signing players, they're worried about the gate money and the rules and qualification for Europe and all that. It's not really that important when you look at what's gone on.
Yeah, you're dead right. And as you say, what's important in life, and what do you want to be remembered for when people look back on this? Did you actually do something about it, or were you just complicit in the whole world, just saying, sure, look, we'll ignore when it suits us? Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure. Enjoy the rest of the World Cup. If we have room on the Concord, myself and Alan, we'll try and get you over for the next match. Okay.
As fellas have often said to me in the past, I'll just carry your bag wherever you're going. I'm quite happy to carry your bags, lads. If you take me.
Listen, myself and Mark are going to stay on and talk for a minute, but we'll let you go. Alan and Brian, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
But Mark, you wanted to jump in there, did you? Sorry about just on Brian's.
No, I was going to ask them who do they think we're going to win the World Cup, because I know there's.
We're too early. We get them back on. We'll do another. Listen, Kerr, we had a great day on Friday, Mark, with the Sports of Ireland, and Harry was over. He was an absolute gent with everybody. He posed for every photograph. He answered every question, and then he delivered the goods on the stage as well. It was fantastic.
No, he was incredible. Like, what a personality as well. Like, the minute we picked him up that morning, it was like we knew him all our lives. Like, so friendly, so engaging, and that's how he handled the day. And look, the man has stories for life. He's incredible, and
What about his memory, Mark? If my memory is as good at 79 years of age, it's incredible, really.
unbelievable. Like, unbelievable. Like, as I said, like, even before we got on stage with yourself that day, like some of the stuff he shared with us in the room prior to it, and he went back to like 40 years ago. He could remember the minute a goal was scored. He's an incredible man, and as I said, it was a pleasure to have him. We'll definitely bring him back again at some point. But
he specifically said you're not to drive him anywhere near the airport or back. He's not happy with you at all.
He's not happy with me at all, Hugh. Absolutely not happy with me. He wants Eva to drive, but I understand that.
Yeah.
No, quickly, I was only did you see the football draw?
I did. So look, some big games there. Dublin, Donegal. Obviously, I think is it Mayo have
Meath.
Was it Meath? Very good. That'll be an interesting one. And is it who did Kerry get?
They got Armagh and Monaghan Westmeath. So, yeah.
Lovely. No, it's great. It'll be a cracking draw. We should mention Katie Taylor. We last week on episode 1 we mentioned about Katie Taylor and our big night, preview night at the Sugar Club ahead of her fight. It's sold out, Mark, in 2 days. We're talking about the FIFA ticket pricing plan and this fluctuating system, dynamic pricing model. Peter Aiken, to be fair, Eddie Hearn, they got the pricing model right. €120, I think, for a family of 4 tickets, and it is sold out. 80,000 tickets. Isn't it fantastic?
Brilliant. I did predict it would, and sold out in rapid time. Now, to be fair, I did try and get tickets, but I kept getting in at the €776 tickets, so I haven't got 2 as it stands. So if anyone wants to give me 2 tickets, I'm very open to it. But
I think we'll manage to sort this. We'll be there. We'll make it. We'll make it work. We're going to talk to Brian Kerr again. We're planning a series of tribute nights with the great and the good of Irish sport. Brian Kerr is going to be first up sometime in October. We're still crossing the T's and dotting the I's in terms of the contract, Brian and Mark. But look, we're very excited that Brian is going to be part of the Sporting Club Ireland Legend Series.
Yeah, very excited. He's like, as you said, you could listen to him all day as well, and he's some very interesting opinions. He's very knowledgeable on the game, so and everything he's done for the game should be a cracking evening.
Yeah, it should. Okay, Thursday, wherever you get your podcasts, we'll have Harry Redknapp dropping. Click on to LinkedIn, follow the Sporting Club Ireland as well for any updates. That's probably the best place. Instagram as well, wherever you get your kind of social media. But Harry Redknapp coming to you on Thursday. We do apologise about any of the issues around the sounder at Alan there, but we thought it was worth having the guys.
Absolutely.
If you skip forward 10 or 15 seconds, it shouldn't be too much of an issue for you. But apologies for the sound interruptions. Mark, have a great week, my man.
Hugh, it's been a pleasure. We'll iron out those technical difficulties. Live the dream.
We will. All right, we're back Thursday. Mind yourselves. Have a great week.
Bye.